Heads up, I'm crawling back.
All right, cool. So as we were talking about, you said Ian Farmer, Modern Baseball, Slaughter Beach Dog has mastered your album, which is coming out.
And it's awesome. Like, obviously, like, Modern Baseball is so important to the whole like landscape of what emo looks like now, and especially the more Slaughter Beach Dog comes out, the more people are kind of taking notice of like that's a really cool project and really kind of moving things forward in terms of how records can sound and all that. And, but with Jealous, I was like, oh, this is something Tom's gonna do all of it. I was like,
Right.
Yeah, when we have all this music with Jealous, I kind of present it to Tom, that kind of just tell him I love him so much. Will you please make this sound the way it's supposed to?
Yeah.
And Tom's been super sweet all the time about it. But we were doing a well-kept rehearsal, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I think like, it might be a really good idea to go with Ian Farmer." And I was like, "Oh, a different person?"
Yeah.
I was like, I thought I've just been thinking about you this whole time,
Right.
Like, have you been thinking about
Having
me?
Tommy master.
Yeah. I was like, and Tom it's been so awesome to see the way that like more and more people are figuring out that Tommy's kind of the best.
Yep.
And as his buddy, I'm just kind of like, I stay cheering, like,
Right.
But that just means Tommy's doing a lot, too. And so between the like, well, I know that if Tom's not mastering, that will mean one less thing Tom has to do. And as his friend, I want that,
He loves that. He loves not mastering stuff.
Wow. And he's always been so like open about like, I think all of us looking at the production end of things, a lot of us feel kind of like overwhelmed and drowning about all of it. And Tom's always been cool about being like, I think that's just how it feels, Tom's great at it, but I think that it's one of those things where like, sometimes it makes him seem even better at it by being honest about like, man, this world is still weird, even if you're good at it, But he, I had listened to the most recent Slaughter Beach Dog record, thought it was amazing. I'm kind of in between age cohorts for like, like Modern Baseball hit me, but not as hard as it hit like Elijah and Tom and all of those other guys. But obviously there's a lot of respect there. And so we were able to make it happen. But it was one of those things where I was like, oh yeah, we can like, let's email him, I don't know if he's going to be interested,
Right.
like, especially like how heavily touted, especially in our little friend group that Ian is, I was like, oh, I mean, I don't like, if he passes on it, whatever, like,
right.
And then we got like a email back from him that was like, oh yeah, I'm almost done. And I was like,
wow.
Oh, cool. I was like, great. And I looked at my wife, Sarah, and I was like, hey, the record's almost done being mastered. And she was like, oh, the guy's going to do it. And I was like, that's where,
he's basically already done it.
He's doing it. Yeah. He's there, and we got him back, and man, it's crazy, especially if you're trying to enjoy the process. Like, it's cool to be like, all right, the songs are done. Wow, we love how they sound. Tom mixes them, like, and then we're like getting to enjoy them over again, in the way that he mixes them. And then when Ian brought back the masters, it was like, oh wow, like there's another level for these, and like, dude, I don't know how competitive Jealous is in the marketplace. I don't try not to think about it. My whole head is at like, man, am I enjoying the way that these things sound? Especially like at my age and with the work that I do and kind of like the way our life is oriented. We just had a baby.
Right. Congratulations.
Thank you. We just brought home a baby. I don't know how to talk about adoption.
Still counts.
In the same, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes
you were responsible for a beautiful child.
He lives at our house. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, there's very specific language in that world. And sometimes it feels cool to like participate in all of it. And then sometimes you want to just be like very blunt about all of it and just let people, either misunderstand or think you're being too, casual, and it's just like, because at the end of the day, like when he spits up, I wipe it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like,
yeah.
And
when he cries at night, you're going into
when
the
he
room.
poops, we wipe his butt.
Right.
You know, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know, like he is, but he's definitely a huge priority. You know, like I would say, like if you tried to say that he was the only priority in our world, that wouldn't be wrong. Like that would be a version of right. And you know, Sarah and I still try to take care of each other, you know, but we're mostly thinking about Tilly. You know, there are definitely moments where we remember each other exists. We're like, hey, how are you doing? You know, like, we've just been talking about like whether he needs to fart for the last 15 minutes.
Right.
Are you okay? You know, and but like with all the priorities, man, like it just means that as much as I love as many people as possible to enjoy Jealous and Respond and whatever, it's just got to be for Isaac and I. You know, I joke all the time that like Jealous is a project that was aimed at Isaac. You know, Isaac.
What do you mean aimed at Isaac? Your brother, by the way, in case anybody doesn't know.
Isaac plays drums in Jealous and does a lot more that I don't think everyone sees because he is so much smarter than me. Isaac is, and in a very like specific way. Like Isaac is academically trained, like as a percussionist, and
I could tell just from seeing y'all's live show the other week.
Yeah, dude, and thank you for being there. Isaac is, I mean, we're 2 years apart, have been each other's best friend forever. It's definitely that kind of brother thing where like, you know, no one has made me happier or more upset than Isaac in our life, and he would probably say the exact same thing and stress how upset I've made him. You know, and being an older brother can kind of go sideways sometimes. I was definitely like a little bit of a like older brother who treats his younger brother as a pet growing up for a time or another. And I remember him like going through another stage where he reacted to it by being like, I don't know if I like you, you know, like, and it made a lot of sense. But we play in Jealous now, and we've come up together playing in various like situations, most notably church kind of stuff, you know, we've always been there together. And man, that experience was awesome for just learning how to play and learning how to listen. But Isaac is so rock solid at playing drums, but for whatever reason, you know, with what he had going on and what I had going on, we hadn't done a lot of like club stuff together, like hadn't put out a lot of music. You know, we done like a couple of projects here and there, like in-house, like let's make a quick EP over spring break, you know, stuff like that. And that's always super, super fun. But when Jealous, you know, because the story with Jealous, and maybe we'll get into it, but
let's get into it.
Funny
this is
one.
A podcast.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, boy. When Jealous kind of got kicked off, it was like, oh, okay, this is such an opportunity to make music with Isaac. I mean, Isaac lives in Greenville now.
Right. South Carolina.
South Carolina, okay, yeah. And we used to live on the very same street in Athens.
Oh, wow.
Total coincidence. They bought a house down the street. I mean, I think that with like some of the neighborhoods around here, the like turnover because of like people getting older and either like moving to a different situation or passing away or whatever, a lot of these houses get for sale like in the same time frame.
Oh, whoa.
You know, so a lot of the houses in our neighborhood are like at the oldest kind of like 70s era houses, ours is. And, you know, so they were on the same street for a while. That was awesome. But you can't like, you got to kind of like appreciate that while it's happening because it's just so novel. And so when they moved to Greenville, you know, when he told me they were going to move, he was like, and don't worry, dude, I'm going to make sure to commit to Jealous. And I was like, I wasn't thinking about Jealous. Like, I was like,
but thank you.
I was like, thanks so much.
That.
You know, like that's so sweet of you. And, you know, such a brother moment of like, like, you know, I'm like, dog, I'm trying to like, be here for you and however you feel about moving, but thanks, you know. And sometimes like that trade-off is support, you know, letting someone care about you while they're going through about something is sometimes that's care. I guess maybe you're holding the care ball together. But you know, it was such an opportunity to make music with Isaac. He's such a like head for the stuff. especially like on the end of being techie in like theory world. And
He's controlling all the tracks when y'all are playing live.
yeah, he knows how to. He created our bass player. We call him Abe. Abe Elton. Yeah. It's bad.
That's awesome.
If I can get like 2 people at the gig to be like, about that joke, then I'm like, all right, well. Like,
I would have laughed if you said that at the gig.
I had so many zingers on Friday that I didn't say.
Well, the shark facts. We haven't even talked about shark facts. Yeah.
Shark facts, that'll make an appearance. Man, like I'm very aware of like, if you show up to the show, you could have not,
right.
And you could be doing a bunch of other things. And Athens is pretty cool on Friday,
There's a lot of things to do.
A lot of things going on. And so, my head's been like, man, I'm super appreciative. I tend to kind of like, I don't think anybody owes my art anything, it's directed at me. I'm not trying to hold anybody down and make them appreciate the music I want to play at them. And maybe that, like my work life has been like music for specific things in church world and stuff. So I think that like shapes the way that I understand like trying to get someone to listen to my songs. I'm like, I don't know how functional this is. This isn't helping somebody do their religion. So I'm like, I don't know why you're interested. I'm glad we're at Cine where you can get like popcorn and it's like the vibes are immaculate. Cine is the sickest. And I do know that it's Cine.
I say Cine. I've been saying Cine lately because I hear more people say that.
When we first started playing there, I walked up to Anderson, who runs sound, who's the best. He's always been so nice to us. And I was like, hey man, like, I've known about this place. I've been here to see the room over the years. Like, how do you say it? Because as long as I'm saying it how you say it, I don't feel too weird.
That's true. Because you can always be like, the guy who works here says it this way.
I don't know, dude.
Right.
Maybe it's not pronounced Bon Iver, but like, it, and it's coming from that world of like, I remember back in the day, there was a like post-hardcore, like Scram's band called Chiotis. And there were all of these like kids at my high school that were like, we would argue endlessly on how to pronounce it, because that's what being cool was.
Yeah, of course.
Like
being the one who knows how to say it.
Who knows how to say it. And they're like, it's Chiotis. And then I'm like, I saw a live video where they said Chiotis, but I guess maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
I was like, I don't know,
but
man.
You're not.
I was just trying to get you to go to prom with me. I was like, I don't know. But the
Chiotis.
Yeah, Chio. There. It's if you listen to it now, I don't know how valuable you'd think it was.
Okay.
But for a lot of us in the like mid Warped Tour Guitar Hero generation,
okay,
it was like important stuff. It was like, what if the song titles were really long? What if the song structure didn't super duper go together?
Yeah.
But anyway, so sometimes I call Cine just Cheen.
Why not?
Yeah. China. Like it's one of those things where it's like, man, I need you to know that it's the same way I feel like when I talk to Elijah about movies. Elijah Johnson has a film degree.
Does he have a film degree?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And as far as I know,
very into film.
He either has a film degree or could.
Yes, he certainly could if he doesn't.
When people ask me what my favorite movie is, I often tell them to ask Elijah.
That's a great answer. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, whatever he says.
He's got good taste in music. Shout out to Elijah.
Yeah, he's the best.
Good taste in movies, also music.
Yeah, Elijah is, and this is a segue. Elijah is kind of why Jack and Jealous exists.
Oh, how did that happen?
So, like I was working with Elijah in like a campus ministry capacity. And a lot of that is like, every week, same group of kids, you're playing some songs together. And Elijah is a person who sometimes has a scheme. And I don't know, like sometimes the story when you tell it on the back end feels more scheming than it maybe was.
Makes you kind of think about it a little bit more.
Maybe so. He will reference it on the back end as a scheme, not even directed towards Jealous, but we'll get there. But, when I walked into that space, Elijah was involved heavily And so I was like, hey man, I've got to make sure I take care of this kid, make sure that he's being like treated with respect in that kind of space. I was walking in as a new guy. And so we became friends, started talking about, various things around music and church and what have you. And, Elijah is a person who cares a lot and a really good person. And so like, we would kind of like rant at each other about various things and like listen to each other talk about stuff we cared about. And so we've been tight ever since. And, Elijah is so talented but also such a good friend and cares about people a lot. And, I would, a lot of my relationship to like all of these guys we both know is that I was like, man, like these folks they're like young enough to be like Isaac and I's youngest brother, most of them. And, but I'm like, man, like a lot of these folks are really doing cool stuff and they're being really, really nice about it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And not the world that I came from, even as like, a part of the like Athens musical community a few years ago and stuff like that. So when, we started getting involved, and then one week Elijah's like, yeah, man. And Elijah like delivers news in a very particular way. He'll be like, get this, or he'll hold his hands out a particular way to make sure you know you're listening.
Right.
And, and he was like, I have this buddy who is a hall monitor of sorts. He's like a proctor at Tweed Recording. And he's looking for musicians to record songs so that the students can get reps. And so if you guys know anyone, he's talking to everyone. If you guys know anyone that has songs, like I can get you in touch with my buddy Tommy. Right.
Whoa.
Right. And, afterwards I'm like, hey man, I don't even know if like you were talking to me. Like
he looks directly at you after saying that to everybody.
I at that point, man, like I probably would have considered every other option except somebody cares about my songs,
Yeah.
And so I was like, but like, dude, if it's helpful, like if that's going to be something that like benefits you and your buddy, like I got songs, dude, and I can track them. I'm ready, And he was like, oh, cool. Like, and I don't know if he was playing it cool or not. I know that like we're all buddies now and that's what matters. But, so he's like, here, I'll give you the contact for my buddy, Tom. And, so I called Tommy and we had kind of all seen each other. I was involved in a group called Wanderwild for a while.
Yeah.
Elijah had played a couple of shows with them. Early Well Kept was kind of in that world as well. And then Tom eventually was like the guy after me playing guitar in Wanderwild.
Right.
Shout out Matt Martin.
Shout
Brilliant.
out. He's awesome.
Matt has I've always felt like Matt's superpower is his instincts. Matt just knows when things are cool and like knows when things sound good and just does it. And I've like, there's very like, at least, able to be seen, very little indecision. And he just like makes cool stuff, and like a lot of us grew up while we were in Wanderwild, the quickest way to tell the story of me leaving that is just as like a growing up thing, of like, man, as an adult, I probably could have like had better conversations, but instead I decided to step away, and then life happened and things got crazier from there. Yeah. But I knew the guys from that environment. And so Tom is like, hey man, like, oh no, I know about you because you were in Wanderwild, which is always so weird when I was like, oh cool. Like you're like aware. Like I get like you were at the show and you saw it and maybe you liked it, but like you thought about it after, cool. I was like, that's kind of crazy, and all of a sudden like I'm like faced with like either like being so scared to talk about it all or being like, do you want to talk about my tone real quick? Do you think how could it get better? Could I sound like what that you noticed would make me a better player at slide, whatever. Right. And so, but I got with him and I was like, hey man, like, I heard you're looking for songs. I have a bunch that are just like sitting. And if like that seems cool, then I'd love to work on that. That sounds really fun. Isaac still lived in town at the time. And so we went and cut our song Brighter at Tweed, which was the funnest.
The first song you've released, right?
Mm-hmm. Very first one. Because, you know, and so I'm like, you know, at that time, like trying to come up
How long ago was this, by the way?
Ooh, this was 2020, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about 4 years ago.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
It feels like more recent, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, but, and because a lot of that was such a whirlwind, but, we got in there and I'm like coming up with the name of the project. I'm like, hey, Isaac, we might have like an opportunity to track a song. Wouldn't that be cool? Mm-hmm. And the funny part about it was all of us were like, oh, well, if we track a song, then maybe we could play a show.
Yeah.
You know, like
Just like opens the door all of a sudden mentally.
right. Jealous was like, oh man, the whole goal was play a show. Like the mission statement of Jack and Jealous was Ian and Isaac go and play a show.
One show.
One show. That's all we need, you know. And,
One and done.
Because I mean, and that's where it's like partly directed at Isaac, is because Isaac was like, bro, I see you come and you play these shows. I want to do that. That sounds fun. And I was like, I can help you do something you want to do. You know, I was like, I'll be right back. You know, and so. You know, and so we talk about it at every show of just like, it's weird that we're having this conversation when the mission was one show, you know,
right.
Anything we do after that blows our minds because we're like, this is insane. But so Tom tracked that record, you know, and then we like worked on it with him and Elijah, adding different parts.
Was this all at Tweed?
A lot of it was at Tweed, and then some of the like overdubs and stuff was at the old zoo,
Springdale
Zoo.
Springdale, yeah.
And you know, I walked in there a couple of times then, and at the time I was like, "Who are all these people?" And now I'm like, "Oh, it was Tony and Hannah." You know, like,
yeah, all of your friends now.
All of these folks that I'm like, "Oh, they're the best." Like, and for like the breadth of the Wabaz community continues to expand. Like at the time, I would not have been like, oh, that guy is going to make me feel the best about my hair I've ever felt. Right?
Yeah, shout out Tony.
But Tony is that dude. And like, you know, I didn't know Hannah at the time. Hannah Leslie might be one of the funniest people in the world, and I don't even know if she knows it. We got into a conversation talking about Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and she just goes, "Rock Band is booty hole."
Wow.
And I was like,
"Damn,
I love your directness.
Yeah.
Also, you're wrong. You know, like
yeah, calling out Rock Band. Like
I would
that.
say, personally, our family owned Rock Band.
Yeah.
There's my biases. I'm gonna think it's better.
I mean, they were the first to do the drum set.
I watched Isaac get up after playing Detroit Rock City on Rock Band, get onto his drum set, and then play it for real. And I was like, this thing has legs. You know?
There you go.
Like,
yeah.
But we finished Brighter, and you know, during that time, Tom's like, yeah, like this is fun. And I'm like having a blast. Like, you know, I could like barely sing for the vocal takes, you know, so it was just like Tom and Elijah like being like, you can do it, and me being like, ah, you know, and then we went to the beach right afterwards. And so I got into the car after the session. Sarah looks at me and she's like, how did it go? Because she's aware that if it was bad, the beach was about to be trashed.
Ooh,
you know?
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, it was good. And she was like, yes. But the Anna Maria Island, if you ever get the chance, off of Tampa, so sick.
Nice. Go there after you record a song.
Yes. Honestly, I don't know why I'm not doing that every time.
Every time.
But,
yeah.
Money probably. And then so it's like at one point it's like, oh man, that was fun. You should come hang out for like a well-kept session. And I was like, okay. And so in the meantime, you can look at.
So you were not in well kept at the moment?
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh no. And they're like, yeah, if you want to hang out, and like, dude, if you want to like, I'll send you a song that we're working on if you hear anything. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome. This is so fun. You know, so I'm like at home, like, you know, trying my damnedest to track the best guitar part I possibly could.
Yeah.
Which ended up being the well-kept song Punches.
Oh, whoa.
Right.
That's one of my favorites.
I really like it too. If I can, any well-kept song that I can get like dual Elijah, Tom, Vox, I'm like, this is fun.
Yeah.
And then there's also Hampton does like 25% more tambo velocity on Punches, I've noticed. And I think everybody appreciates Hampton playing tambourine.
Yeah. I appreciate Hampton playing anything. Watching him play drums especially is
Honestly,
so fun.
Yeah, maybe we can, like, I would love to talk about how I think Well Kept is a super group, but
In a way, it feels like it.
It does feel like it, and I try to tell them as often as possible. But so I showed up for this, like when they were finishing Punches, we're working on that stuff, and you know, like I can't remember what all the other songs we were working on, but I was like, man, I feel so like honored to get to like play guitar on this guy's record. Like I was like, this is so fun. Like, you know, I'm super grateful for this. And then at one point, Tom's like leaning in the doorway and he's like, hey man, you know, like I like hanging out with you. And I was like, I like hanging out with you. It was one of the most romantic experiences I've ever had.
Like the way you're describing it right now, it does sound very romantic.
And I do feel that way about every one of those guys. But he was like, dude, if you wanted to be involved with Well Kept in like the live capacity or any capacity. And I was like, oh, awesome. Cause I'd been telling him every time I saw him, dude, however I can support what you're doing, just like let me know. Like, dude, I don't have a lot of money, but I'll give you money, you know, like, you know, I'd like, if you want me to put up flyers, like, like whatever you need, dude, if you need cars to like schlep stuff, I got a car, you know? And, so then I was like, oh man, playing guitar sounds pretty supportive. Like,
yeah, I would say so.
I guess I can do that, you know? And it's been like, so like dear to me, like that whole time ever since. And so,
that was in 2020.
Yeah. I went to my first Well Kept rehearsal, and they were taking photos with Kyler, and they're like, "All right, cool. Like, let's do the photos and then we'll rehearse." And I was like, "All right, cool, guys. See you in a minute." And they're like, "What? You coming?" And I was like, "What?
Me?"
I was like, we haven't played together,
right?"
And they were like, "We know how you sound." And I was like, "Oh." I was like, weird, you know? Huh. And then we love those photos, like still. But, you know, so that was like summer. It was either 2020 or 2021. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But you know, it's been since then. And so like, you know, got to see that record come out. And, you know, and it's just been fun to get to do everything we've gotten to do with them. And so that's where the scheme with Elijah, like the lore is Elijah wanted me to join Well Kept from the jump. Oh yeah. Which like, maybe dude, like, I believe that Elijah's that smart.
He is.
I don't like whether or not he was like gunning for that from the beginning, or how active it is like in his mind is probably a question for Elijah.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, let's ask him. Elijah, come on out.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
that would be
fucking awesome. Yeah, pull up a chair.
I would, I don't know, cry happy tears or something. I was talking to him yesterday. He played a show in Macon.
Yes.
Last night at Grant's Lounge, which I'm from that area.
Oh.
And Grant's Lounge is this like pretty historic venue in downtown Macon, which is a very interesting place. You know, Macon, I'm from Warner Robins.
Okay.
Like middle Georgia.
Little league baseball teams.
So those
come from Warner Robins.
Those kids, the ones who won the first championship, are my brother's age.
Okay.
And they would come use our batting cages when I was playing JV high school baseball, and then never clean anything up. And then we had to clean up after them because they were like future superstars.
Lame.
Yeah, I was like, some of that I'm like, I get it, man. You're like enjoying yourselves, you know, like you've had some, like you were on the come up, you know, and also I'm like,
they're 12.
Yeah, I'm like, pick up the ball, you know, like,
come on. That's crazy.
But it was fun to watch. And like, man, the quality of the Little League fields from year
I'm
to year
sure.
after that happened.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, this is
so
amazing.
much more money.
I expected there to be like a Dippin' Dots stand. You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
you're real high class, you can go buy
You get the
Dippin' Dots at a place.
stand. That's funny.
But yeah, so Macon was where we would go to like the mall when we were
Right.
growing up. We were like, ooh, like we can't make it up to Atlanta,
Right.
but we might be able to go to Macon, you know. And the first time I ever went to Guitar Center in Atlanta for a birthday one year. I was like,
Your birthday?
yeah.
Okay,
I was like, maybe I can get to go to Guitar Center on
Right.
Druid Hills, you know.
Right.
And,
Yes, I think I know exactly which one you're talking about.
and the relationship with Guitar Center does change very rapidly as you mature, you know, like
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
where you're
Yeah.
like, okay. And like, dude, big shouts out to everybody working at the Guitar Center. Those folks seem stressed.
They're on the front lines.
They're on the front lines. I bought something close to Black Friday this year, and I was like, "How you doing?" And they were like, "Ooh, bad." You know?
Yeah, don't ask.
And I was like, "Right, sorry, might be, dude. I'm trying to like be out here with you, but I am about to get in my car and drive away."
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, man. So like, Jealous has always been intertwined with Well Kept in the sense that Tom has been so helpful, Elijah's been so helpful, and everybody around so encouraging. You know, like all the guys in Well Kept. You know, Tony was very encouraging early on, just like walking in the room at Springdale and being like, "This sounds good," and I was like, "It does," you know, like, you know, the way that people have allowed Isaac and I to exist, you know, has been so encouraging and just like so fun. And I'm out here just trying to like stay as mentally and emotionally present as possible to like enjoy it as much as I can. And you know, we'll you know, see if I can put my son in a like custom Jealous onesie or something like that.
I think you should absolutely make that happen.
They gave us coupons. So what I'm waiting.
Who gave you coupons?
I guess like it was the hospital or something.
Okay.
Who gave us what is a hard question.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But so we brought Tilly home from Utah. We were out there with him. He had to stay in the NICU for a minute, and between the NICU and like you have to do a pediatrician visit before you fly. So that they will make sure that he's still gaining weight out of the NICU. And they gave us like a gift backpack, like a baby bag. And it had like coupons for custom onesies. So what I'm waiting on is the like PNG image of the Well Kept logo. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to do 2 orders.
Yeah.
I'd
You
like
don't
to
want Jealous, period.
I will take Jealous, period.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, those t-shirts have been fun to sell. I think people, especially people's parents, are very much like, where's the other part of the name? And they're like, is it on
You
the
don't get it. You don't get it.
like, is it on the back?
Right.
And I'm like, no.
No, you have
And
to
then-
buy the other one.
And then we had Zach print some that just said Jack because I needed to finish the joke.
Right.
And people buy them. And I'm like, okay. Like,
That's so funny to just buy Jack.
yeah. Well, Jackson from Echolocations was the first one.
Oh, there you go.
Because he was like,
He was just here last night. Yeah.
He's like, "Ooh, that's my name," you know. And I was like,
Right.
"Okay, I get that."
Yeah.
But then other folks are interested, and I'm like, "All right, cool." I mean, we printed 5, so I was like, "This is worth it to me to get to be like we did it," and it resonated with Zach. I was like, you know, "Hey Zach, I know that this is gonna like be a joke you think is funny," you know. He was like, "Oh, I'm here for that. You know, I'm ready." But yeah, so that is the lore portion.
I'm all about the lore.
Yeah.
And thank you for going through all that. You know, we have your new single,
Yeah.
Heads Up, coming out on the same day my song's coming out, actually, a
Yes.
week from yesterday.
Dude,
so February 2nd.
February 2nd.
If you're listening right now, it's already out. So go check it out if you haven't yet. But yeah, Heads Up. What was like the writing and the recording process for this particular song, since this is the most recent one that is
Yeah.
out?
Dude, so A lot of my stuff when I write is I'm trying to like almost kind of like I want to do something like an idea on guitar.
Okay.
I have this like
You have a vague idea of
I'm
what
like,
it could be.
what if there was a riff that used this idea? And so in this case, there's a Fall of Troy song called FCP Remix from Guitar Hero 3, and which uses like I think they're called shell voicings. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Chords that have a third and a seventh in them, and no fifth, and that you can play in tight little groups.
Okay.
And
I feel like I need to take guitar lessons from you because,
dude,
all the songs I was listening to, sorry to interrupt,
yeah,
but I'm
no
like,
worries.
and especially watching you live. I mean, having seen you play in Well Kept, it's like obvious that you're good. But seeing
Thanks,
you play
man.
live with Jealous, I was like, oh, he's the only one other than drums playing, and it sounds so full. Like your guitar playing style is so cool, and like I'm always just doing chords, like just straight up chords. And so what you do is like I see that and I'm like, that's if I could do that right now, I would.
Thank you, man. I think that it is a transaction, right? When I see people who are making what seems to me like more economical choices, like I have a part that I'm playing while I sing that sounds good, but it's not driving me crazy. Like it's not at the very end of what I could possibly play. I think that that's so smart. Like, so when I watch people that are like, you know, I have these chords and they're very cool, but this part isn't the hardest thing I know how to play. That sounds smart to me. All of Jealous songs are like, I can barely play them. Like I don't know why I do this to myself. On the best day, I'm like, yeah, man, it's challenging. You know, on the worst day, I'm like, oh no, you know,
Why did I do this?
And, but I came up with like, I've joked sometimes that Jealous is just electric Dave Matthews Band. I love, especially like, you know, like the song Warehouse by Dave, or there's parts in songs like American Baby or Satellite, and like where it's like, oh, okay, this is like it's filling up a pretty similar space to if you were strumming chords, but it's like a guitar idea or like a figure or a theme or whatever you want to call it. It's a freaking riff, dude. And so I was like, and it's like, so it's Dave and like bands like As Cities Burn or Fall of Troy or these groups that the one guitar part tends to fill up a bit of space. Biffy Clyro is another great example, where it's like, okay, like if this was just on acoustic, that's my benchmark, is like, could I play this for somebody on acoustic and have the riff still translate?
Yeah.
Which coincidentally, Heads Up is one of the only ones I didn't write on acoustic.
Oh.
There used to be a bendy boy in the riff for Heads Up, and then I tried to play it on acoustic and couldn't do it, and then that like fried my brain for a second, so I was like, no more bendy boy, because I've got principles, you know.
Yes.
And
Values.
oh yeah, man, really hard nosed. And so there's a line in this song FCP Remix that's this like, it's a chord progression, but one note at a time in these little chord shapes, like kind of going down the neck.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the coolest. And so I was like, what would be like my version of that? So like a lot more kind of like strings ringing together, a lot more like open string stuff, not as like high gain. So I wrote that riff. And it's like, it's just 4 chords. It's the same 4 chords over and over again with some like bits, you know? So wrote that, and then like connecting bits. And then I got to use, you know how if you're into key of C and you play a E7, you're like, ooh, cowboy stuff, you know? Like, so I was like, ooh, I added the cowboy chord, which maybe it means something different to other people, but the songs I heard it in first were like, this is a Western song. And I was like, ooh, cool. You know? I think I write sometimes like somebody who is on a ride. I'm like, ooh, and now this,
Right.
And so wrote that whole thing. I always have the guitar part first. Very rarely have lyrics first, unless I'm writing about something that's like journal-y type of situation. And then, so then I was like, okay, well, what's this about? Our songs don't always have kind of like a bounce or any sort of like swagger to them. This one is the closest to having any. And so I was like, okay, like what do I feel this way about?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I feel this way about like re-entering the music scene. I was like, oh, like, because I'm like, man, this is a weird story. I have no idea how like anyone is making sense of like, I didn't think Ian played in bands anymore. And now he does, like, where did he go? Like, the answer is church. And so I was like, well, I don't know that it ever mattered what other people's take on your stuff is necessarily, not in a practical do something about it sense. But then I was realizing as I was thinking about it that like I cared about how people were perceiving Jealous out of a sense of like caring about them. Like I was like, I care how you take this because I like you and I do care what you think. Not in a like let me do something different, but I was like I want to know how this is affecting you because I care about you. And then also I was like, but the main thing I care about is like getting to do music with Isaac and getting to like experience what everything that we have making friends with Tom and Elijah and all the guys and all this other stuff. And so I was like, it's a song about like I'm not gonna look back from that, I'm not going after like getting anything out of it.
You're just enjoying it.
And so and that felt like well, I should probably like give people a little bit of a preface. And so that's why it's called Heads Up, of just like, hey, just so you know, this is where we're at. Like, and then when I was like, okay, Heads Up as the first line of the song, which that happened in vocal tracking. We used to just like open it instrumental. And I was like, hey, Tommy, am I being stupid by calling the song Heads Up and then not saying Heads Up very first thing? Like, and he was like, oh, like maybe.
I don't think it's stupid. I think that's just a good call to do that.
Oh, man.
Like I wouldn't be bad to do the other one, but when I listened to it for the first time, I was like, oh, of course.
Hello.
It makes sense.
Man, we did the vocals for that in 1093, which that room just feels fun. Like, I'm like, ooh, like we're professionals.
Yeah.
When I'm in 1093. And it must be all the natural light. Just like, wow. I feel like I'm like, man, recording out here in Vancouver sure is fun, And my family's out there, and that place is awesome. If you ever,
I would love to go to Vancouver.
Take the opportunity, man. That place is awesome. I do only go in like July, so that's the big caveat there.
Yeah,
but my family's always like, you could visit at Christmas, and we're kind of like,
we're like, we could.
I know,
but what about the summer?
But we when we got there, Tom and I arrived to do tracking. They were working on like an organ in the back, and I guess for like trying to keep things comfortable in there, they had the doors open all the way through, and a cardinal had gotten in.
Okay.
And the ceilings are pretty high, and there's a loft space in 1093, and so Tom and I couldn't get him out. Like we were like, come on, buddy, and little dude was like not interested. I called him Roy.
Why not?
For being red.
Right.
And yay. And so then
Roy G. Biv.
Yeah, Roy G. Biv, baby. And I know about colors. So eventually he kind of settled down. I think we tired him out because he's just going back and forth. And we couldn't figure out how to like change his flight path. We kept being like, maybe if we really
trying to like shepherd him,
trying to do air traffic controller stuff.
Right.
And so we're trying to shepherd him. He got tired eventually, so we're like, well, let's just do Heads Up. And then we got like a few takes in, and then we started hearing him. So, and I don't know that these ever got bounced, but somewhere there is like, however this record does, I'm going to make my cash on very high quality studio recordings of Cardinals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you may
It's
have
a safe investment.
you may have a field recording of a Cardinal outside. I have him
Anyone can do that.
yeah, anyone can do that. We have him in the booth,
Yeah.
you know, and you're not bringing him to the studio,
Right.
And neither are we, but we did get lucky. But
I
eventually,
think he chose you.
he chose us. Yeah, I miss Roy every day. Eventually, we got like a bunch, like at least one other guy helped us. We all had brooms, and
Right.
eventually got him out of there for the rest of the track. But yeah, like and again, man, like the track, I did all the guitar and bass at home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So just drums at the
drums at the
1093?
zoo. Drums was here.
Oh.
Like drums was here at the zoo on Barber.
Nice.
Isaac and Tom, I saw them both like level up, like in that process. Like Isaac is such a he's very thoughtful, very like methodical. And sometimes if you're a thoughtful and a methodical guy, flexibility doesn't always lend itself to being part of your skill set. And yet, Tom was throwing ideas at Isaac, and he was just fielding them, like he would practice it like one time and then just like get it. And I was just like, what is this? I'm sitting there on the couch, like, you know, like I to this day, like, you know, people ask every now and then, like, so do you ever try to play drums if your brother's a drummer? And no, like I've sat down behind the kit a few times. Feet hand relationship is not my thing. And one of the hardest things about learning drums is knowing that you can call someone who can do it instead, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, as soon as I hit, there's no perseverance whatsoever. I just go like,
Yeah.
oh, well, good thing I don't need to know how to do this, you know, and beyond that, it's like the initial pots and pans fun of it is, I still get that. So I'm like, boom, 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 boom. Okay,
Right.
cool.
Hitting things.
You know, yay. But yeah, they did all the drums here. We flew in bass and guitar, and we did drums here, vocals at 1093. We did the whole record in one fell swoop, in both cases, and then finished up with a lot of like, Isaac played like snare drum room mic'd for one song, and we did a lot of Mellotron stuff, and you know, more vocal like layers and what have you. Isaac sings on this stuff,
Yeah.
which he didn't sing on Brighter or on Leather Jacket, but I've always been like, dude, like, come on, like, let's go. And I think I mean, Isaac
Sounds great.
He does, and Isaac he's such a. Both of us are like different versions of being like hyper expectant of ourselves, like perfectionist types, and Isaac is very execution minded. Like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it right, you know. And so sometimes people like that, it's hard to convince them that it is right. And so, man, it was such a huge. It was almost kind of like, ha ha ha, told you so in a way. Like, we're listening to the mixes, and I'm like, like, you sound good, you
Yeah.
know, like, and like, I don't know if he didn't think, like, I think he knew he was gonna, but like, when we did all his vocals at my place too, I have a little like home situation that mostly is good for guitar, but like there's treatment and stuff than we do. Tom convinced me to buy an RE16, and so we, you know, I have a good mic, you know,
Right.
and then, you know, so we
That's all
do
you need.
those, and I try to like mimic what Tom does, and fly it in. And I think it was fine. So like, he's on the record a lot. There's a couple other guest spots on other songs, but Heads Up is Tom added some elements, and then Isaac and I, and dude, we're so stoked. The whole record we're very excited about. Heads Up especially, like I think Heads Up is probably the most representative of what you could like expect from Jealous as a whole. Mm-hmm. You know, like
It makes sense. It's the first on the
single,
album,
baby. Yeah.
First single.
Oh yeah,
Dude, that's awesome.
yeah, bro.
I'm excited for everybody to hear it. It will be out February 2nd, but as you listen to this episode, it is already out. So go listen to it. Give it a stream on your favorite streaming service.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Ian, you want to take this over to the last 5, where we pick 5 quick questions from this bowl? I'll let you mix it up.
Wow.
Please don't rip the papers. I
Yeah.
wish I didn't have to keep saying that. I should just put a sign that's like, please don't rip the papers. And I know they're not doing it personally. It's just like a fidgety thing. And then by the end of it, I'm like, there's like 3 questions I have to rewrite.
Oh man.
But anyway, question number 1.
Do the dream artist or producer to work with? My goodness. Oh man. You know what? I'm gonna shoot my shot. So there are people that we know that are becoming increasingly connected with the Manchester Orchestra universe. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge Manchester Orchestra fan. Andy, if you're listening, I have been from the jump. You know, and I think that like, especially now, like they're doing like a lot of collaborations.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, y'all want to put some shine on a new artist,
Right?
You know, but man, I just like people keeps like the Tim who plays drums in Manchester is like interfaced with Tom a couple of times, and all these other folks, and I'm like, they're like, yeah, he seems really nice, and I was like, cool, I'd love to learn that in person, you know, like,
yeah,
because man, like a lot of that stuff is like so resonant with me, and like I've been in projects before with the express purpose of sounding like Manchester, and I'm like, so like, guys, I promise I'm a good hang. You know, like let's become friends.
Give me a chance.
Yeah. So I think Manchester, you know,
that would be great.
on the other end, you listen to Novo Amor?
No,
Dude, Novo Amor is like
Novo and more.
It's like new love in Spanish. Novo Amor.
Oh, Novo Amor.
Yes.
Okay.
A fella from Wales who makes like Bon Iver type music.
Interesting.
Which I don't think anyone expects from me. But he has a record called Birthplace. That was like, it's like my top record every year outside of like vocal warm-ups.
Whoa. Right.
My Spotify Wrapped is ruined.
Always vocal warm-ups. Yeah.
But if it wasn't ruined, it would say. And I think there's a way that you can like make it not a part of Wrapped, but maybe being 31 makes it so I don't know that.
I don't know that either.
Ooh. Dude, I pulled unexpected musical influence.
That was perfect for what you just said.
Dude, yeah. I think that, oh man, what would be?
You said that guy from Wales.
Novo Amor would be one. You know, like and I don't know how much it reads, like Isaac and I came up in like like mid-aughts, 2010s metal and hardcore.
Okay.
My favorite band of all time is Under Oath. You know, Isaac and I love Haste the Day and like more modern stuff like Periphery and Spirit Box.
Theory. Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay,
like-
that's the only one I know.
Yeah, I
I
mean-
saw them open for someone a long time ago.
I mean, like there's a thing that being really aggressive musically does that's really fun, and
Do you like Thank You Scientist?
I've heard Thank You Scientist.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of that stuff. I mean, like there's very little of it that doesn't resonate in some way or another. You know, like I was so stoked when Turnstile got big.
Yeah.
You know, like stuff going on now, like whether it's like Sleep Token or Empire State Bastard, or like there's all these bands that are like so cool. And when I make music, it's not heavy in the same way. or like Emma Ruth Rundle even, or another one of my favorite bands is All Them Witches,
I've heard them. Okay.
and New West band. And
Oh.
yeah, you like Allman Brothers meets Black Sabbath does not feel very New
Right,
West,
right.
and yet
Interesting.
yeah, so that kind of stuff is awesome, and I try to borrow some of it, but if we eclipse the heaviness of Manchester, like if we get up there, I
Right.
feel like we're heavy.
Yeah.
I'm proud already.
There you go. Question number 3.
Question 3. Song you wish you wrote. Ooh. Oh man. I came up listening to, like, my earliest memories are James Taylor, Fleetwood Mac, Tom Petty in the car. And James Taylor, I've been singing a lot of those songs to Tilly, our son. I think he likes being sung to. That or it's incredible wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sing to him unless he really, really hates it.
Yeah,
I guess.
either way.
Yeah. And James Taylor has a song called "You Can Close Your Eyes." It's like a little like lullaby song that I think is like the sweetest song in the world. Like, I don't know if I necessarily wish I wrote it or if I'm already kind of claiming it as my own, but it would be like one of those, or like anything by Iron and Wine. I've been a big Iron and Wine fan. The Trapeze Swinger would be the one that I'm like, man, like, so those, You Can Close Your Eyes or Trapeze Swinger would be the one.
I don't know Iron and Wine really well at all.
The Trapeze Swinger is like, the track is like 9 minutes.
Oh,
the song
whoa.
itself, I don't know, is 9 minutes, but it's this like
see.
repeating form.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think about a dude who, like, either he or the person he loves has died or will die. And he knows that only his significant other is going to heaven. And so he's like, the imagery is like people graffitiing on heaven's gates, like writing messages to the people on the inside or whatever kind of stuff. But it's like all of his music is like very like little pictures of life. A lot of them is like Southern, like, but that one especially is this like huge like treatise, I would say, on like slice of life songwriting.
Gotcha.
And it's the sickest song in the world.
Nice. Good choice.
Yeah, man.
All right, number 4.
Question 4. The worst song or album from your favorite artist. Oh God.
This is a new question I've been doing.
Oh man. Okay. I will do, let's talk about Manchester.
Yeah.
Okay. The worst one. Oh no.
So yeah, you can pick like a worst album or a worst song, whichever one's easier.
Okay. There is a song on Everything to Nothing, which is kind of like middle career Manchester. A lot of people started listening to them on that record. But there's a song called I've Got Friends. And everybody seems to really, really love that song. It's a good song, and I just don't care. Like, when it comes on, it gets skipped.
Yeah.
And I don't know necessarily what it is about it. It's not, I don't know how representative of their sound, especially on that record, it is. It's a little bit more like quirky indie boy than it is like rock and roll, like riff kind of situation. And they've kind of straddled that world like at various points. There was a while where we were all trying to sound really quirky, like when people were bringing like bell kits to shows, you know, like that era.
Okay.
And people were going ooh ooh in songs a lot, you know.
Right.
And so that one, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I don't care. Y'all get it. Like, for them, I would consider it a foul tip. You know what I mean?
Okay,
I'm like,
yeah.
you know, like if you got 2 strikes on you already, which I'm not saying they do, but you're not striking out on that one. So
Right.
it's all good.
That's a good, yeah. I think maybe I should phrase it like, what song are you skipping? Because worst song sounds pretty heavy, but I like the way you phrased that.
I mean, yeah, and we're all so sensitive because we all like, all of us now, especially, have grown up with like Pitchfork's website, you know, and so we
Yeah.
know what it looks like for somebody to like go in on someone,
Yeah,
like
just
and it's
ruin
like,
them.
It's like, okay, man, like I don't feel that way about a lot of stuff.
Not really.
Sometimes I go, well, I guess that one's not for me. Like,
Yeah.
I guess that is not, like, when I appreciate, like, a lot of the guys in Well Kept are big. Like, I can get with their 1975 fandom
Dude.
most of the way.
Yeah, I love them.
Right. Like, that's like easier.
Yeah.
Then when we start talking about like Daft Punk, I'm like, okay, like obviously that's very important.
Sure.
I'm
yeah.
not putting Daft Punk on
Yeah. Okay.
at my house for no other reason than I'm just putting other things on.
Right.
And then when we start getting into like the Wolfpack universe, I understand even less.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I'm not quite on the Wolfpack train as much.
I
I respect them though.
Yes, if I was funky,
Yeah.
then maybe I'd feel different.
Sure.
I don't think I'm very funky. And so when I look at Corey Wong, I'm like, okay, like awesome, dude. Like,
Right.
and like, of course, like a lot of those players are so gross, like, and so like feel is immaculate, you know? And I wish that I like was making songs feel the way that they can make them feel. And also, but I do like Khruangbin though. You like Khruangbin?
You know what's funny? I am not a huge fan, really, but I saw them live
Let's
in
go.
Asheville simply because I wanted to see Toro y Moi open
Okay,
for them.
yeah.
Because Toro y Moi is one of my favorites ever.
Let's go.
And it was a very last minute thing. It was like the day after his newest album came out. Was randomly going to Nashville for like a vacation for a weekend. And then I was like, what is there to do in Nashville? Toro y Moi's playing tonight, and his album came out yesterday. His new album came out.
Toro y Moi and Khruangbin are both artists that sound like you would have seen them in Nashville. Or in Asheville.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, definitely.
And Nashville, I guess, but definitely Asheville.
Certainly Asheville, yeah. It was fun.
I think too many times this holiday season told people to listen to the Khruangbin "Christmas Time Is Here." Like, I was like, well,
I
did you
haven't
know
heard
there's?
that.
Yes, I mean it's if you listen to it, you will be like, oh, this is exactly what I thought.
What
it would
I
be.
imagined
Yeah,
it would sound like.
I
That's
was
funny.
right. Do we have one more?
Yes, last question.
Ooh, on musical rotation. Okay. And I've ripped none.
Thank you so
bro.
much.
There is a lot of people are getting into a band called Military Gun. Their record's called Life Under the Gun, I think. Really cool, kind of like barky, kind of like punk adjacent music. Band called Shallow Water has a record called I think There Is a Well. That one's been huge for me. Dude, Zach sent me a song by this guy Petey.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about him the other day.
Yeah. Congratulations on Instagram and actual music, you know, like
Yeah, because he was huge on TikTok. I mean, I'm assuming he still is.
Yeah,
And,
but it must be TikTok.
hilarious.
That's that's the cohort divide one more time, you know,
Right.
is that like
True.
I will catch what you guys catch a few months later
Yes.
on Instagram, and which is, dude, it's fine. Yeah. Yeah, he sent me this one, like the Freedom to Fuck Off. And I was like, this is awesome. I think he said like, you seem like somebody I know that might actually enjoy this or something like that. And I was like, yes, dude, this is so resonant with me. I was like, Sarah, you have to listen to this. And she's like, we have to feed our son. You know, like, I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe during.
We'll put it on during. Yeah, that's fine.
And he doesn't care, you know? And, but yeah, that stuff. And then like, you know, dude, like I'm always going back and forth with like, I make a playlist, like several playlists a year to like document what I've been listening to. So last year was Jordan year because of 23.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This year is beast mode year because of Marshawn Lynch wore 24.
Okay.
And I'm a big Marshawn Lynch guy. I think
Yes.
as much as sports can be like pro wrestling, I'd like that. And Marshawn Lynch got us real close. And good guy, seems like. But yeah.
He was the one who had the whole sort of quote unquote controversy about his, what is it? When he's doing the post game interviews and he didn't want to do them. So he would just be like,
Oh, I'm just here so
I don't know.
get fined.
Or that's what he said.
Yeah. I mean, dude,
I love that. I mean,
it's been several things. I mean, at one point they had a whole like variety show where they would just bring people in and do stuff just
Weird.
to have him react.
oh,
You
that's
know?
kind of funny, actually.
He was like, I remember watching one clip of it, and like a guy comes in and like breaks a bunch of like bricks karate style, and he's like, I was gonna make fun of you, but then the way you disrespected them bricks, you know, now I'm on your side or whatever. And I was like, I'm here for this, man. Like
Yeah.
this is the like
Weird.
after school viewing vibe. Like
Yeah.
Isaac and I would just like watch like Wildin' Out and Jersey Shore after school, you know.
Jersey Shore, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, this is the kind of thing I want to be watching while I'm eating my pizza rolls. You know what I mean? It's like, you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
What is the Rob Dyrdek show?
Oh, dude,
What was that called?
dude, I was so into because there's Robin Big first, and then Fantasy Factory, and then Ridiculousness.
Ridiculousness.
Yes.
That's what it was. Thank you.
And one of these days, we're gonna get the documentary on how Daniel Tosh from Tosh.0 feels about Ridiculousness.
Is
which
it
might
very, I
already
guess
be
it's
out.
kind of similar.
I think it's like the same concept, which like
Yeah.
again like but then like the Soup also existed, and that's very
yeah,
similar.
who owns
also,
the concept of talking about videos?
yeah, probably the dude from what's his name from America's Funniest Home Videos, probably.
True,
Right?
yeah,
Like,
they
I guess
did
it's
it
just an
first.
old thing. Who knows, man? But like,
Yeah, an
and it-
age-old tradition.
It's such a like beautifully efficient concept.
Yeah.
Like, because you don't have to prepare nothing. Like, you're just
No.
like, yeah, I'll just get a team of folks to just like,
We'll just
sift
write some
through what
jokes
gets
about
sent. Yeah,
funny videos that no one's seen.
easy. So
And even if you have seen it, even better because people are wanting your take on it.
exactly, man. Like, and I guess that's like most of YouTube now too.
Pretty much.
A lot
Seems
of like, let me just give you my take on the thing that everyone
Reaction
has their
to-
take on.
yeah.
Which, I mean,
classical guitarist reacts to.
I'll tell you what. If the YouTube community wants to do a bunch of reactions to Heads Up,
There you go.
that's okay with me.
Yeah.
That's fine. You have my permission.
We're putting out the call to action right now.
Y'all, I mean, eviscerate us. Like,
Yeah.
who is this dude? You know, whose head does he want to be up? You know, this is incoherent. Say mean things about me. It doesn't matter.
You heard it here, folks. Say
Yeah.
mean things about the new Jack and Jealous
Bring
song.
it on.
Heads Up, which is out February 2nd. When you're listening right now, it's already out, so go listen to it.
Will this be out? Will we have already played a show together?
I don't know. Oh,
Ooh.
wait. Yes, because we're playing Well Kept. I was like, Jack and
Yes.
Jealous. I don't know.
Yes,
about
not
that.
with Jealous, but with Well Kept.
Yes, with Well Kept. That is February 6th or 8th. I'm sorry, 8th. So it will be out. This will be out the day right before it.
Yo,
Yeah, so come hang at
stoked on
Cine.
the show at freaking
Cine.
If you don't have to be able to pronounce the name of the venue to get in.
Yes, the
It's not
movie
required.
theater in downtown.
Not
Come hang.
required at all. Watch a movie beforehand. Watch a movie after.
Why not?
You know,
yeah.
as long as you're.
Triple header in there.
I'm watching a movie during. You know,
Sure.
like pay admission and then go watch a movie. Like
That's fine.
We'd rather you in the room. You know, that I'd prefer
would.
it. You know, but if that's your vibe,
Totally
then
fine with me.
You could absolutely pull that off at Cena. You can't pull it off at other venues.
No, not AMC. Oh, you meant Music Phineas. Yes.
You can't pull that off at other movie theaters or music venues.
That's a good point.
It's the combo is what's helpful, right? Like this is it's the intersection where the value lives, right in there.
That's right. So Cine, February 8th. Come hang. Well Kept and me. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
Ian, thank you for coming on.
Dude,
Jack and
thanks,
Jealous. Congratulations on the new song, Heads Up. Thank you again for coming on, man.
Dude, thank you.
I've never been
Thank you again for tuning into the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Remember, not only can you listen to the episodes on Apple Podcast and Spotify, but you can also watch the episodes on my YouTube channel, which is linked in the description below. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time.